Hi guys, and welcome back to the Big Sew Along. I'm Ginny, and as always, I thank you very, very much for choosing to spend a little time with me. This week, I also thank you all for all your lovely well wishes from last week when I wasn't feeling so well. I really appreciate that. I am feeling much better. I do still have a little bit of a cough, so if I have to pause the video, you'll know why. That's the only thing I've got left. Other than that, I'm feeling 100%. So, I have a couple of things to go over today. First of all, I want to do a little follow-up on the last two videos that I did. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Ponte fabrics, and I wanted to tell you guys then, and I forgot. And then I was going to mention it last week, and I wasn't feeling well enough to remember anything last week, so that went down the toilet. When I was doing my research for Ponte fabrics, I did a ton of research online. I did find some really good articles on Ponte fabrics, as well as many, many other things on the Threads magazine website. So I'm sure most of you are already familiar with that, but if you're not, you should definitely check their website. They just have a ton of information on there. But while I was doing my other research, I ended up buying two books. One of them is this one. It's called Textilepedia, which you may or may not have heard of. It's just called The Complete Fabric Guide. It's very clever. It says, please read the instructions before using and keep away from fire, which is also kind of funny. But this book has all kinds of stuff in it. It's got a page for just about every fabric you can think of. It's got a description of it. It's got a list of its properties. In most cases, it'll have a little story of where it originated. It has a list of common applications, what garments it would be good for, what kind of a weave it is, and usually the fibers that fabric would be made out of. This covers a ton of stuff. It also has a big section just on fibers, like a list of all kinds of fibers and how they're made and what they're made of. Yeah. Now, I will say, I think that this book was, I don't know, I want to say it was $35 or $40 US. I can't really remember. But it was useless when it came to Ponte fabrics, because there's a section in here that talks about Ponte fabrics, but the only thing it says is that it's a double knit, which we already knew. But in spite of that, I'm glad I bought this because it's an extremely useful book. It's very handy. It's got just a ton of information in it. So, there's that one. And the other one I got was this one called The Fashion Designer's Textile Directory, a guide to fabrics, properties, characteristics, and garment design potential. This one is by someone named Gail Bow. This one I don't think has an author on it, so I don't know. Yeah, so this is the other one I got. This one is also very good. It has essentially the same kind of information. This one has facts and figures, distinctive features, strengths, weaknesses, usual fiber content. I can't say that I think one of these is better than the other. I like that this one is quite compact and easy to carry around, but this one has bigger photographs, and so maybe a little easier on the eyes. This one I also think, yeah, this one was $35. I bought it new at $35 US. So I can't say that I think one of these is better than the other. I think they're both really good. They both have essentially the same information, so if you get one, you probably don't need the other. I tend to go overboard on these things. But just in case any of you are interested, I will leave links to both of these books down below in the description box. Then, last week we were talking about my Krista Larson project. A bunch of you guys suggested that I make those. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. It looks like my lighting keeps like going lighter and darker. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, a bunch of you guys suggested using a Textile denim for my Krista Larson inspired pants that I showed you guys last week. I have to tell you guys, that was my original thought. When I saw those pants and I knew when to make them in denim, I thought Textile denim would be perfect. I didn't happen to have any. I just used what I had in my stash, which was, I should have told you guys last week, was like a medium weight denim with no stretch. So probably like an 8-ounce denim maybe. In any case, it's definitely lighter than your regular heavy denim. Although I agree with you all 100%, a tensile denim would be perfect for those pants, and I am currently on the hunt for the perfect tensile denim. I am trying very hard to not buy any fabrics or patterns unnecessarily, but if I find that tensile denim, that one is coming home. Okay, the other thing is I asked you guys for suggestions on patterns to use to make that Krista Larson inspired top. The shirt one that I showed you guys last week in the stripes. I had a few suggestions, all of which were very good. And I thank you very, very much for all of those. I just want to say that Witchcrafting found Butterick 5786. And for anyone else who's interested, I think this is actually kind of the perfect pattern for this shirt. Based on what the pattern picture looks like, I think you might want to size up to get the Krista Larson look. I actually have this in my basket over on simplicity.com, but I really didn't want to pay for shipping on one pattern, and as I said, I'm trying not to buy too many extraneous patterns. So I was hoping that this would maybe go on sale at Joann's or something. I could just go pick up one pattern. But we'll see. Anyways, I do think I'm going to get that pattern because I think that Witchcrafting is right. I think that that is really kind of the perfect pattern for this shirt. Okay, so what have I been working on this week? I got an email a few weeks ago from Elizabeth Suzanne announcing her new 3 patterns. She has 3 new patterns she released in the last, I'm going to say last month or so, since the beginning of the year. One of them is the Lynn t-shirt. I think it's called a tee. I did buy that one. The other 2, one is a cropped top that ties either in the front or the back, depending on how you want to wear it. And the third one is like a little like A-line skirt with an elastic waist. I did not get either of those patterns just because the elastic waist skirt I have from in other patterns, something similar enough. And I just already know I'm not going to wear that tie-waisted top, even though I do think it's very cute. I probably just watched one too many episodes of The Dukes of Hazzard back in the 80s. But yeah, so I got the Lynn t-shirt. I also finally purchased the Clyde work pants and the, what is this thing called? The very popular Harper tunic. I have not made any of the Elizabeth Suzanne patterns before. I have purchased fabric from her, which is lovely, but I have never used any of her patterns. So, this week, I started by working on the Clyde work pants. And I made them up in this fabric. Unlike last week, I chose a fabric that is not expensive and was sitting in my stash specifically for hopefully what would be a wearable muslin. And I was pretty happy with them out of the bag. I should have told you guys what size. I never do this. I always forget. Okay, I might be size 10 in the Clyde work pants. And I was pretty happy with these, like, out of the bag. I'm going to show you guys, though, a couple of pictures. The first one is, let's see if I can find them. Okay. So this is a picture of the front of my pants. And I don't think that this looks terrible. However, I'm going to, you'll see in a minute, you'll see a closer picture. I got some really deep folds right at the front, near the center front line that go all the way down the leg. Now, I have to be honest, if that was the only thing wrong with these pants, I would have just left them, because I don't think that's that big of a deal, and honestly, nobody sees the top of my pants anyway. However, this is what the back of the pants looks like. And you can see, it's not, again, it's not terrible, but I have some funky looking lines. Now, part of that is this fabric I'm using is a really weird mix. It's a stretch linen, but it's a lightweight linen with a lot of stretch. It's a very odd. I have had other stretch linens. They're just usually heftier than this. In any case, I think part of the problem with these pants is actually the fabric. However, this like extra wrinkles around the rear end, it's something I get often, and sometimes I actually get the same thing in the front, only even more noticeable and bigger. I don't know if you guys remember back when we were talking about, I think the Sew House 7 free range pants. I had to do this alteration on those pants, and I talked about it then, and since then I wanted to show you guys how I make that alteration. So since this came up, and I definitely wanted to fix this back a little bit, I decided I would go ahead and do the front too. Mostly, like, this isn't, I mean, these are pretty loose pants, so you don't really have to, they don't have to be like a perfectly fitting pant. I just like the pants to look like they actually do fit and not like I don't care about the fit. I like, a baggier fit is what I go for, but I still want it to look like a clean pant. I want it to look like I actually intended for it to look that way, not that it just looks like I put on somebody else's pants, if you know what I mean. So this little tutorial I'm going to show you here is how I took out some of that excess fabric at that front crotch area and then the extra bagginess at the back. Okay, you guys, so I have a different pair of pants here because I've already altered the other ones, but I'm just going to use this one to show you how we measure our pinches. Like, this is where I pinched up excess fabric. This is pretty much right at the front crotch, and I haven't pinned it all the way down, but I know it goes down to about here. So I'm going to take my ruler, and because this would be pinched the same on both sides, because this one is in the middle of the fabric, I need to measure this like this, and that looks like it's about 1/2 inch. So that means, because it's on the fold, it means I need to move my crotch over 1 inch. I need 1 inch less fabric down here at the crotch. Up here at the top, this is actually on a seam, so I don't need to double it. I just need to know, that looks like it's about 3/8 of an inch, so I just need to know the top needs to come out about 3/8 of an inch. So this is our front pattern piece, and on this I know I need to move my crotch point over this way 1 inch, and what I don't want to do is make this deeper. I don't want to go down. I just want to take this curve over 1 inch. So I go right about here, like midway through the curve, maybe there. And I'm going to put a mark right here, and right here, and right here. And then I'm just going to draw that in and make sure it comes right to the same crotch point I had before. Just like that. Now remember, up here at the top, it's on the fold, and it's only 3/8 of an inch. So you really should measure on your pants how far down you took the pinch, but I know mine's probably right about here. So I'm just going to make a mark right here. Now, when I go to draw this in, I just want to be sure that when I get up here, it's taking in that 3/8 of an inch. And it more than likely will anyways, because when you curve this up, you don't want to come back straight back out like this. You're going to have to come up a little bit anyways. This one's pretty high, so I am going to measure like that. Make sure I get that 3/8, and then I'm just going to taper it out right here to the front so that I don't take anything off my waistband. So like that, and then just make sure that that's a smooth curve there. Okay? And I'll show you a picture here on the side of how I did this on the original pant with pins, so you can see where I did it. But this just looks like this. Now we have removed fabric from the center front. We've moved our crotch over a little bit, but we haven't shortened our crotch depth. We've actually lengthened it a little bit, but that's not going to matter in this particular pant. It will matter on the back, because the back, for me, is the same thing. It needs to move over 1 inch. So 1 inch is right about here, and right about here, and then right about here. However, so my crotch is going to look something like that. I don't really have to take that much in at the top here, so I'm just going to straighten that out. I don't want to make my waist smaller, so I'm going to use my curvy ruler and just straighten that out like that. Whoops. Like that. Okay, so this is my new crotch at the back. Now, if I keep going and I just draw this straight over to here, that is going to give me a lot of negative space where my body can sit. This particular pant, you can see in the pictures again, it has, my drag lines don't just come around the bum, but they come down the leg. So we're going to move this whole crotch over, and we're going to do that by moving this crotch point over an inch as well. So now, this line is going to match up like this, and that's going to be my new crotch point. This, well, it should match like that. And this one, we're going to get rid of this fabric. That's an inch right here. We're going to eliminate that by using, again, our curvy ruler. And cutting it out like that. And again, I'll show you a picture here of how that looks on the pinned pant, the one that I altered. So my new pant looks like this. And since I knew I was going to take this off the back, I didn't want to take it off the front because I don't want to make my negative space where my body sits to be too small, because then you create a whole bunch of other problems for yourself. Alright, so now when I put these together, you can see they actually overlap a little bit like that. So the negative space, the space where my body sits, is right here. And I have shortened that by 1 inch. It was closer to that, but when I took this piece off the back, I made that space smaller. I didn't take it off the front because I don't want to make it too small. But I've also eliminated excess fabric from the center back and from the center front. Now, if you have the opposite problem, if you need more fabric at the center front and the center back, you probably don't want to mess with your negative space. You're going to try to keep that the way it is unless you already know. I mean, there are reasons that you would want to change the negative space, the space where your body sits. But if your pants are just too small across the front and across the back, you probably, your best option really is to cut straight up the center back or front panel and spread it as much as you need, and then sew it all back together, or put it all back together. If that gives you too much fabric in the waist, say you open this up 1/2 inch, that adds 1/2 inch to the pattern piece at the waist as well, which you can always just taper off like this at the side. Just take it off at the side. Now, the reason you don't want to add fabric where we took it off, remember we took it off right here and right here, but if you don't have enough fabric and you add fabric here, say you add 1/2 inch here all the way around, you're actually decreasing the amount of negative space where your body sits. That's why you want to add it someplace else, either in the center of the pattern, or you could even add it to the side. That's fine too. It's not going to make that much difference. Okay, you guys. I'm sorry if that's confusing going back and forth here. I hope that that was helpful. I'm going to show you again a before and after of these pants so you can see what a big difference like a very small alteration can make, even in a pant that is not necessarily a fitted pant. So this is a pant originally, and here's a picture of the front now. This is the back, and here's the back now. And I think you can see that's a pretty drastic difference. I mean, I personally am much, much happier with that. And that is, it's not a very difficult alteration. I will say the most difficult thing is actually just being able to have somebody around to help you pinch out the fabric. If you don't have somebody around who can do that for you, I'm very lucky in the sense that I have two very close friends who both sew quite often and are willing and able to help me with these things. But there have been times when they haven't been around and I've had to do some sort of alterations, and I find the easiest way to do that is to put my phone up against a bookcase or something and take a bunch of selfies and see if I can't sort of identify where the problems are on my own. So try that if you don't have somebody around who can pin for you, or if you don't trust your housemates to do it, because I don't. Okay, so like I said, I hope you guys found that helpful. The other thing I was working on is, because I bought it and I had never made one, is what I'm wearing today. This is the Harper tunic. This one I just made in, the sizes there are a little odd. It's like one size or minus one size or plus one size, something like that. I just went with the one size, whatever that was, it's OS. And I made no alterations to it. I actually really like this top. In fact, I like this whole outfit. This outfit I could wear every single day. Well, until it gets hot anyway. This one I just made out of an old linen tablecloth that I got from a house sale. So this tablecloth, I was originally on a diet and I just never got around to it, and I like it in white, so I just thought I would keep it and do some patching or something over the spots. So I used excess like scraps of this fabric to patch over the spots that were on here. And I'm gonna keep going on it. I'm gonna do some stitching on top of those patches. I had a little bit of this fabric left over. It was enough to make just like a cute little straight drawstring skirt that I'll be wearing in the summertime, and I'm doing some hand stitching on that as well, which I'm really enjoying doing. So that makes that almost a zero waste project, because I used almost all the scraps for patches, and I used most of the fabric in the top, and the rest I used the complete piece in the skirt. So I'm pretty happy with that. Alright guys, so next week I am going to be doing the first sew along of 2024. I have not done a sew along for a long time on here actually. I'm going to be doing Vogue 1860, which is a Marcy Tilton pattern. This is a dress, or sort of like an overdress, what we'd call a jumper here in the US, but I know that that's not what everybody else calls it, so I guess I'm just going to call it an overdress. It also has a really cute little ballet kind of ballet neck t-shirt that goes with this. We're just going to be doing the dress portion. I picked this because, well, it's Marcy Tilton and I happen to really like her. But this dress is made specifically for Ponte knit fabrics or stretch wovens, and I thought that tied in nicely with our Ponte video from a couple of weeks ago. We can see how Pontes respond in different ways to different kinds of shaping and that kind of thing. Now, even if this isn't a pattern you'd necessarily want to make for yourself, I hope you'll tune in, because I feel like there are a few things we can all learn from this pattern. It has an asymmetric neckline, so there'll be some interest in figuring out how that goes together. It has some pockets that are inseam pockets, and they are in some like side slanted pockets, so that could be interesting. And it also, as usual, has some rounded panels at the bottom, as usual with a Tilton pattern anyway. Has some big rounded panels at the bottom, so we can play with how those get assembled and everything. Alright, so that's next week, and I hope you guys will all come back and join me for that. Until then, I wish you all happy sewing.